I'm not going to say a word. Just go, Glenn. Go. Justice is coming. Justice is coming. It's almost here. Hit me.
Yeah. So here's a couple of things about Rudy.
Yes.
I saw the reporting last night. I think it was on Lawrence O'Donnell's show, where we now also know that individuals who were actively working these nefarious schemes with Rudy Giuliani at the same time were working covertly with criminal investigators, federal investigators. So, of course, Lordy, there will be tapes.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine having covert sources into Rudy Giuliani every day when he was engaged in this crazy, criminal, reckless nonsense that he was pulling? I mean, Rudy is so done. And, you know, Rudy's not exactly a man of honor. Yeah. He will be flipping on Bill Barr. He will be flipping on Don Jr. He will be flipping on Donald Trump. So, you know, hold on tight.
Huh. All those kind words about Trump Sr. yesterday about him. That seems like that might change in a hurry. I don't even know where to start. How many layers, as a prosecutor, Glenn, how many layers of dumb are both the Matt Gaetz, Joel Greenberg written confession and everything Rudy Giuliani has said and done in the last couple of days? How dumb?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Prosecutors like stupid criminals. You know, there are a lot of very sharp criminals that we either have a hard time getting a hold of and pulling into the system, or frankly, a lot of people get away with a lot of crime.
Right.
But when guys are as dumb and as reckless, and I don't mean, I feel bad saying dumb, but when you're as reckless as Matt Gaetz, when you're as reckless as Rudy Giuliani, you know, that's like shooting criminal fish in a barrel. You know, these guys were always going to get got. Yeah. It was just a matter of putting in place a law-abiding attorney general to get after them.
Well, that's the main thing you tweeted, Glenn, which is true. You said the Bill Barr free lunch for Donald Trump associates is dead as of today. And you're right. They knew this way. And you're right. I don't know if it's dumb, Glenn. It's a combination of, just arrogance. I don't even know what, right? That they just never thought they would get caught. They've gotten away with so much, and they just, and you can tell even now they don't think they're going down, right? I mean, if you saw Rudy, I mean, I can't imagine being his attorney, right? He's doing his radio show, he's doing interviews. I mean, just saying one more, incriminating thing after another, right?
And here's the next thing we're going to have to contend with. Does Rudy Giuliani have a pocket pardon? Is that part of the reason he's still thumping his empty chest, his heartless chest, and talking like he's not going to be held accountable? Think about this. Criminals covet pardons. Criminals are willing to pay for pardons. Donald Trump is somebody who was never one to forego a good grift. Do we really think, Steph, at the end of his presidency, as he began to completely unravel, as he was desperate for funds because he is at the bottom of every financial hole imaginable, do we really think he had the self-restraint not to start selling pardons like candy? Yeah. Of course not. Do you know how many pardons there must be out there for cabinet members, criminal associates, Trump family members? They're going to start pulling these pardons out when they need them. I'm concerned that Giuliani has a pocket pardon. The next question becomes, does Merrick Garland challenge corruptly delivered pardons in court? And I would bet a buck the answer is yes.
I just was going to say, Glenn, is that legal, what you're talking about? And how could it possibly be, if so? I mean,
so there is no legal requirement that a presidential pardon must be disclosed publicly in order to be valid. And because there is no such law or constitutional requirement, we know Donald Trump sold a rack of pardons. He just did. I'm sure of it.
That leads me to, obviously, I guess we know from the letter that Joel Greenberg did not get a pardon and Matt Gaetz did not get a pardon, do we think?
Joel Greenberg didn't. It looks like Matt Gaetz, given the reporting that broke yesterday, where Roger Stone was acting as his, de facto attorney. What could possibly go wrong? It looks like Matt Gaetz does not have a pardon, even though he tried to get one. Joel Greenberg obviously doesn't have one because he's been charged. He's been indicted. He was pending trial in June until he finally gave up the ghost and decided to flip against Gaetz and others.
Right.
So no, but Giuliani, I would bet my own money he's got a pardon.
That is infuriating. You also chimed in on that. You said Search Warrants 101. A federal judge reviewed the evidence in support of the DOJ's application for a search warrant, concluded there's probable cause to believe there is evidence of a crime in Giuliani's home, office, and electronic devices. I mean, tell us about Bill Barr and all this, because the fact that these investigations, Gaetz and Giuliani, started under Barr, and yet he also was clearly blocking and trying to slow down and impede well, at least the Giuliani investigation. I don't know about the Gaetz investigation as well. What is Bill Barr's complicity in all this? And
so in DC,
is he involved in Justice is Coming? Is my point in the hashtag? Will justice also be coming?
In DC, we call this playing the 50s, where he's got 1 foot in one camp, 1 foot in another. So he'll open an investigation. He'll allow prosecutors to open an investigation, and then he'll begin to squirrel it.
But it must have been bad for him to.
It must have been really.
Okay.
For Gaetz, it must have been horrible, and it looks like it is horrible, right? Statutory rape is pretty dang horrible. But for Giuliani, I think this is where it's a real danger zone for Barr, because we learned that the career federal prosecutors at the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office wanted these search warrants for Giuliani months ago under Barr's tenure, and it looks like Barr blocked them. Now, of course, we know there is ample evidence to support these search warrants, and now that Barr's gone, the search warrants have been issued. This sweeps Barr up in potential criminal corruption because it looks like he may have obstructed justice in the Giuliani investigation. And I think it's sweet irony that Bill Barr, remember the guy who opened the investigation into the investigators when Donald Trump told him to? Well, now the guy who opened the investigation into the investigators is going to be investigated. So,
cue Dr.
A lot of investigation.
Cue Dr. Evil laughter again for a moment. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Also, karma for Marie Yovanovitch. I mean, it goes on and on, right? Doesn't it? I mean, and Bill Barr, who himself obstructed justice in the Mueller probe, right? I mean, I just hope, Glenn, that it all comes out, because it all seems interconnected, doesn't it? I mean, it's just it is
all coming out. It's all coming out courtesy of Merrick Garland, right? Look at what that man has been doing. I've called him a quiet storm from the moment he was nominated. I mean, whether it's opening pattern or practice investigations into police departments, bringing civil rights cases, being prepared to do the right thing in the event the jury in Minneapolis got it wrong with Derek Chauvin and company. I mean, this man, look at what he's doing. He doesn't care about the criticism that's going to come. He's just doing the right thing. And I think that has got to make us all feel good.
I knew they would live to rue the day they blocked him from the Supreme Court. You said Merrick Garland is putting the justice back into the Department of Justice. And you just said the FBI raid was one giant step on the road to justice. Obviously, your famous hashtag, Justice is Coming. And I got to tell you, Glenn, I get it on Twitter and elsewhere. People are afraid to believe it because they've gotten away with so much. And it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, that any of these people end up going to prison or yada, yada, yada. I mean, what you just brought up, it's the first time I've heard someone say it, that Rudy Giuliani probably has a pocket pardon. But I wouldn't be surprised either, Glenn. And I just, again, I have to hope that hashtag justice still is coming anyway, because, I mean, it's extraordinary, right? Like, is there going to be a separate counterintelligence investigation now with this other bombshell that, Giuliani, Ron Johnson were warned they were in a Russian disinformation campaign. I mean, I said this earlier, Glenn, but this isn't lobbying, right? Working with one of America's enemies to attack our democracy. What is that? I don't know if I'm overusing the word treason, but what is that?
This is not just rough and tumble politics. This is criminal. This is, you know, this is the antithesis of our democracy. It's the antithesis of national security. But I mean, I think we can actually say with confidence, given Merrick Garland, who will just, it looks like unflinchingly go after this stuff. I mean, justice really is coming, and we can see it concretely. A former U.S. attorney for New York, a lawyer for the president of the United States, just had his home raided, his office raided, his computers taken, his cell phones seized. You know, it doesn't get any more consequential than that. Believe me, I've gone after lawyers. Do you know how hard it is to get a search warrant for a lawyer's office vetted up the chain at the Department of Justice? You would think you were, you know, searching Jesus's robes. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And they did it. And, you know, I have not been more optimistic than I am at this moment that America is actually going to get what she deserves, which is freaking justice.
Yeah, and you're right about Merrick Garland. You say quiet storm. I mean, when you remember that he put Tim McVeigh away, you know, he doesn't like dirtbags that work against the United States of America, right? Whether that's, you know, people working with Russia to undermine our democracy or people trying to, you know, stage an insurrection and overthrow the United States of America. So I think you're right, a through line right through the Capitol riots, right? That he is just getting started.
When he took over the investigation into the Oklahoma City bombing case, this still gives me patriotic goosebumps, because what he said was that we will hold accountable everybody who is responsible for this bombing, but we will do it in a way that honors the Constitution. And that is what public service is about. Because you know what? I don't want to catch bad guys by violating our Constitution. I want to do it right. And that's what Merrick Garland is about.
Yeah. You tweeted, AG Garland endeavors to return our nation to the respect of rule of law with police department pattern and practice and civil rights investigations and today's search warrants. And you're right, there is a through line. And this had to have warmed your heart as a justice warrior. The president, who, of course, we believe, you know, because that's what it's supposed to be. No, there's no, you know, the Justice Department is completely separate, you know, so he obviously had no idea. Give me cut one. President Biden yesterday.
Were you aware of that raid before it happened?
I give him my word I was not. I made a pledge. I would not interfere in any way, order, or try to stop any investigation the Justice Department had underway. I learned about that last night when the rest of the world learned about it. My word. I had no idea this was underway.
And if Joe Biden, you believe him, because he has restored, as you say, the justice to the Department of Justice. Just one more, because this will,
I'm not asking to be. That's the Justice Department's independent judgment. This last administration politicized the Justice Department so badly. So many of them quit. So many left because that's not the role. It's not the role of a president to say who should be prosecuted, when they should be prosecuted, who should be not prosecuted. That's not the role of the president. The Justice Department is the people's lawyer, not the president's lawyer.
Oh my God!
How does that
sounds so good
warm the cockles of your prosecutor Hartmann?
It's inspirational. It's just absolutely inspirational. And Merrick Garland has the strength and the determination and the love of country. You've seen him talk about how this country took his family in as refugees. They protected them. They provided for them. He is now giving us in return, you know, what we deserve from a Department of Justice. And to hear Joe Biden actually articulating that he's completely independent from the department when it comes to criminal prosecutions. You know, we're going to see the Don Juniors and the Jareds and cabinet members, and the Eric Princes. We're going to see them brought to justice.
Two more quick questions. What was the most incriminating thing Rudy Giuliani said on television yesterday?
Well, I mean, it's such a transparent lie when he tells the American people things like, well, a search warrant, you can't get a search warrant until you've asked, I'm paraphrasing, until you've, asked me to bring in all the incriminating information in a box and delivered it to you. And only if I say no, are you allowed to get a search warrant. He is intentionally lying to the American people about the process in a desperate attempt to make himself look less guilty. And lawyers are watching it, and you know, you're yelling at the TV. But the good news is when we yell now, the Department of Justice hears us.
Yeah.
So,
and you're not yelling, shut up. You're
good.
yelling, keep talking, keep going. And finally, as the father of 5, is it gorgeous daughters? Like
5 daughters and a son. Yeah.
Okay. What would you have a hard time as a prosecutor of Matt Gaetz, separating your emotions in prosecuting?
Yeah. So interestingly, when I started as an Army prosecutor, an Army JAG in the 80s, I was assigned the number of child sex cases, and I prosecuted them. And that's when I realized that that's not where I wanted to spend my career as a prosecutor, handling those cases. Yeah. And I transitioned into the homicide practice, which I was fine with. And we have a whole battery of career sex offense and child abuse prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. And God bless them, because they do that every day.
Yeah.
That is really hard work. In murder cases, dead folk is hard work, but in sex cases, abused children is much harder work. Yeah. So my hat's off to the people who tackle those cases every day.
Yeah. Glenn, thank you so much. You know, I mean, I know that you know that it was not really a request this morning for you to come on. It was a need that I had, like any superhero you had to fulfill. So thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Hashtag justice is coming, Captain America. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I think it's nothing to worry about for that reason. I mean, you know, like canned meat has a higher rate of messing your blood up, I would think, than 6 out of 7 million. You know what I mean? 6 people out of 7 million. So I'm not at all worried about it. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, I know what this is about to be. They're going to take this ball and run with it, you know, and make it like it's anti-vaxxers Christmas, you know, when it comes to this situation. So I'm not surprised by any of that. You know, you'll have that. It is what it is, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, what's interesting is the people who are most up in arms about this, at least the ones who are saying, see, I told you, are people who are never going to get the vaccine to begin with.
100%. Yes. They were never going to get it. It's people that, you know, I mentioned canned meat earlier, but I just think about like people that I went to high school with that I see on Facebook saying they would never get the vaccine, you know, because the government told them to. And I'm like, I saw you eat a possum because a dude named Lugnut told you to, you know, you got real high standards now for what you're putting in your body, but you know, it's because of the source. But you're right. They weren't going to get it either way, but that's not going to stop them from running their mouth about how big of a controversy this is, what has happened, when really it's not. The other thing is they're going to use this validation to be like, look, we told you it wasn't safe, when in reality it's the opposite. In my opinion, it's like, no, we told you it was incredibly safe. It's so incredibly safe that you can't even get the vaccine that has a 0.000000088 you know, failure rate or whatever. It's not even open to you because that's how safe and regulated it is. But they're not going to see it that way.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love these cereal box epidemiologists who are telling us that it was a hoax, that the virus isn't real, and now that this is horribly tragic.
Yeah, right. Well, they say, you know, they're like, yes, like you said, cereal box epidemiologists, they're, you know, do your research. They'll say it's like watching YouTube with your mouth open ain't research, you know? Like, that's not what research is. It's not what that word means.